Hello and welcome to everyone on the line. And if you weren't able to join us today, I hope you will watch this brief recording and get oriented so we can all have a valuable experience next Friday, July 24th. Yes. So if you've got your book, hang on to it. You may have a red, a gold, or a blue cover. They're the same book, just with a different color cover. So I hope you got a color that you enjoy. My name is Elizabeth Sanders Park, and I'm the author of this book and your guide for our time together next week. Some of you, I think I had a chance to meet perhaps when I was in Chicago. Maybe was it last year? It seems like a long time ago. It's been a long year. It's only halfway over. So nice to see you again and nice to meet the rest of you. Um, what we're going to be doing with our time together next week is to debrief some of the work that you will get a chance to do between now and then. And because we know you're busy doing very important work, I wanted to have a few minutes with you today to encourage you to carve out time between now and next Friday and do some work so that you can really get the most value from our time together. This body of work is based on work that I've been doing with job seeking individuals for, through the course of my career. I'm in the careers industry, workforce development industry, like you all. I wrote the book, No One is Unemployable, as well as the 6 reasons you'll get the job. And the heart of my work has always been to help people facing significant barriers to employment, those who have some extra explaining to do. I now also coach executives in transition. I work with professionals like us who are in career transition and people at all levels, but that really has been the heart of my work. And so helping people understand what motivates them has been an important part of that. What I've done here with the MOJO book is just to pull from that work and create a tool for anyone, everyone, and the rest of us to take a moment and think about what really drives us and how can we get familiar with that and then utilize it for our own benefit and for the benefit of the work that we do with the people that we serve. So this is going to be our journey for the next week here. Um, when we think about work, for those of us in employment and workforce development, when we're helping somebody think about work, there are some common questions that we ask them to think about. And let's think about the people that we serve for just a moment, and then we're going to turn our attention completely to ourselves, which is not something we often do, especially in our work. We're very busy serving others. But one of the questions we ask people is, what do you want to do? What do you want to do? And that leads to the job title that they might target, and really hints at the skills that they're using, the tasks that they're completing, the projects they're involved in. And we might say it's sort of the hat that they wear. Right? What do I do? The second question that's very common in our industry to ask is, where do you want to do it? And that will lead us to the industry, right? Sort of the environment, the culture, sort of the people that we're serving, the problems that we're solving, even the vocabulary that we use, who our customers are, where we plant our feet, the shoes that we wear. And we could take a single job like someone who's running an office and put them into different industries, into human services, into government work, into a youth center, into an entertainment company, into a tech firm, into a corporate law firm, into legal aid somewhere in the community. And we take the what and we drop it into different where, and they become very different jobs. So these are great questions to ask the people that we're helping. A third common question, especially when we have lots of people we get to serve and, time frames in which to get this work done, not to mention our clients need to be working sooner rather than later. And that question is, how much do you need to make? There are some other questions we commonly ask. Are there barriers I need to know about? Are there limitations we need to respect and watch out for? But these are probably the most common questions asked by employment specialists. What do you want to do? Where do you want to do it? How much do you need to make? I want to add a fourth question. And if we think of sort of this as a human body, we get a hat on the top of the head, the shoes there at the bottom. It sits right in that space. And this is a question that is not commonly asked. Those of us in employment and career services don't commonly ask it, often just because of the structural system in which we're working. We have a lot of people to serve and only so much time to get it done, and it feels like a luxury. But I suggest, and my experience has been that even those of us who are managing a career and maybe have a little time to step back and think about these things, we don't often ask ourselves this question. And the question, which is really sort of at the heart of the matter, is why? Why do I work? What drives me to do work in general and this particular kind of work? What do I get in exchange for my time and my talent or for all that I'm giving that makes it worth it or that is of value to me? And there are some quick and easy answers, but I want to give you a chance over the next week to kind of move beyond the quick and easy answers. Because the reality is, many of us, many of you, you're working almost side by side with someone who's doing the same what in the same where, and maybe for the same how much. Two people doing essentially the same job in the same environment. But what brings them there? What keeps them focused and engaged there can be very, very different. So our focus is really going to be on this why piece. And motivation is an inside job. This is not a session where I'm here to, pump you up. I'm not here to motivate you. And there are sessions that are like that, and we could do that. That's not what we're doing here. We're trying to give you a chance to kind of get internal and think about, what makes me go. In the work that I do, I often do training on how to motivate job-seeking clients, how to engage them to participate in services, how to motivate them to search, how to motivate them to deliver once they're on the job. It can be a challenge. And there is a saying that Americans use, and it goes something like, I need to light a fire under him. I need to light a fire under my teenage son. He's got to get these details in order so we can prepare for college. I need to light a fire under my colleague so we can hit these numbers. And we understand what it means. You're not trying to light somebody on fire, but this girl is on fire, and maybe she's motivated, maybe she's terrified. It's one way to get people going. But another way to think about it is rather than lighting a fire under people, we're going to try and notice where there is any sort of flicker, any sort of flame, any sort of volition, anywhere where they're leaning in. And when I'm working with an individual, a job seeker, I'm looking for it all the time. What makes this person angry? What makes them happy? What gets their attention? What raises their eyebrow? Just anything that sort of gets them involved. I'm looking for those little tiny flames and then want to sort of tend to that, to fan that. So with the case of us, I'd like for you to take some time this week to think about, to start watching and noticing what makes me go. Questions like, when you're in a grocery store, when you're waiting in line to pay for your groceries, there's a dozen conversations going on around you. And most of them you're tuning out. But what's the one that you hear? What? What do you notice when you're at a magazine stand? What are you looking at? Is it the classic cars or motorcycles? Is it the great outdoors and, exotic animals? Is it business? Is it family? Is it people? Is it crafts? Just start noticing the things that I'm intrigued by. What are the things that make me lean in? Keep an eye on that this week. Look for that zing. Because the thing that keeps us leaning in and motivated is when our body experiences something and it sends out those happy hormones that satisfy us, that intrigue us, that make us want more and kind of lean all in. So watch this week for the zing. Let's do a quick activity to get the ideas flowing here. And I'd love for you just to unmute and shout out if you're willing. No wrong answers. And that's true for everything you do in this book. No wrong answers unless you're not being honest with yourself. But in this exercise, no wrong answers. Why do people work? Unmute, shout out.
Because they have to.
They have to. Yep, there's one. Greg,
Support
what
their
was your thought?
I
lifestyle.
said money.
Money. That's sort of, that's sort of the have to,
Think
right?
about that.
What else
Yeah.
comes to mind?
Supporting their lifestyle.
Supporting their lifestyle, which is sort of like a money thing, but it's in a little, maybe not as much of a need as maybe some of the wants and preferences. Three more ideas. Why do people work?
Sharing skills and talents.
Great. Thank you.
Passion to make a difference.
Great. Thank you. Can we get one more?
Prepare for retirement.
Yeah, they're building something for the future as well. Right. So we just have this experience of shouting out really good answers, a lot of truth there. And we start with the sort of obvious and easier ones. They have to gotta pay the bills and get that money. And as you go through this experience, it's written like a coaching session. I don't know if you may have taken a look at it a little bit already, but I wrote it so it felt like you had a sort of guided, hosted experience. And there's a good chance that you'll start with some of the easy and obvious responses, and I hope you will kind of peel back the layers and get to the deeper things. I will say now that next week when we get together to debrief, I will not name anybody by name. You will not be asked to share your code, tell on yourself, any of that. If you want to volunteer to do a little coaching with me to understand your code, I want to know that. I'll give you a chance to let me know that. If next week you decide you want to ask a question and this is my code and what about that, you absolutely do that. But I want you to know that this is going to be a quiet, private process between you, and the rest of us will only know about the details if you choose to share them. So get real honest with yourself here. So the next question then is, why do I work? And if you're willing to unmute and share, maybe some of the same answers, maybe some different answers. But what's your sense? What drives you to work?
To be able to live in a nicer location
Right?
and to be able to support myself and help out family if and
Nice.
when they need it. So that's why I work.
Thanks. Thanks, Andrew. There's several things in there, right?
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing. Who else will share?
My
I would
And it
kids.
can be
say,
similar or
oh,
quite different. Chelsea? Is
My
that what you
kids. To give my kids a good, stable life, and the opportunities that I didn't get as a kid.
Nice. Thank you for sharing. Can we get two more? And you don't have to share. You never have to share.
I say to improve the quality of someone else's life that maybe isn't as less as I am.
Thank you, Amy.
This is Jenny Rogg. Uh, yeah, just to call it kind of the season I'm in, um, pre-retirement. Kids are out of the house, kind of been on my own for a few years now, and just been doing a lot of this type of evaluation, and it really is kind of coming down to like, what's my calling, what's my mission, what's my purpose, and
Nice.
so I've
So
always
those are
kind of
some
worked out of that place, but now it's just very predominantly in my thoughts lately.
nice. Very nice. And that's some new ideas for us. And I think that there may be some resonance for other people on the call with that, Jenny. It also reminds us that this can evolve over time, right? We have seasons of our life and seasons of our work, and as different things are happening, our priorities can shift a little bit. So to some degree, we're wired a certain way to be driven in everything that we do in kind of specific ways that are unique to us. And it can also evolve over time depending on what's going on around us. Holly, I think you were sharing also, and I'd love to hear your thoughts.
I feel like everyone beat me to it. I was gonna say I agree with everyone, but also just kind of back to the passion. I think it fills my cup to fill other people's cups.
I'm so glad you spoke up because that's language we haven't heard, and that was quite lovely. So next week when we're together, as we're sharing, I hope you will share, even if it's sort of a ditto or amen. We'd love to hear you say it in your own words, or say exactly what somebody else just said in your own way. So own it and share it. Thank you, Holly, for that. All right. So the last thing I want to share with you today before we just do a few logistics so that you can weave this into your work next week is the idea that, hang on, let me make the slide a little bigger. that I want to encourage you to get at the heart of this matter. And it's very common, I would say it's very common in America and in the Western world. It turns out it's actually more common in a white community than in a community of color, that we define ourselves by what we do. You know, how are you? Nice to meet you. Often the first question we ask is, what do you do for a living? As if to know that is to know who you are as a person. It's certainly a good start. It's an important detail. But actually, in other communities, the question might be, where in the community do you live? What street do you live on? What neighborhood do you live in? Right? What church do you worship at? What's your last name? Who are your people? How long have you lived here in town? Like, there are other questions. And maybe if you are serving in a smaller town or a rural area, you'll see some of those questions be more common than they might be in an urban area. But many of us in America have been trained to speak about ourselves and even to think about ourselves as the work that we do, that we are what we do. It's not all bad, but it is sort of a force to be reckoned with. And I want you to reckon with it this week. So we often think about what we do, sort of very specifically, the work that we do today, right now, as a big part of our life. And it is. You're going to get a chance to play around with that in this experience of the book. I want you to also kind of back into or back away from the work that I currently do, even the work I've been doing my whole career, if it's consistent, into work in general. Right. Not why did I choose this job, but what drives me to be productive? What drives me to show up and contribute and be a part of a team and do any kind of work at all? And strip out the details of your current work to a more generic, work. And then we're actually going to take a big step back. And for some of us, this is easier. For a lot of us, it is a challenge. And that is to ask the question, what drives me in life? And what if we took your work out of the equation? And what if we took work out of the equation? What drives you in life? What would get you up in the morning? What gets you out of your place of living and interacting with other humans, or again, being productive in the world, not just in the workplace? What are my deeply held values that are true of me no matter what sort of work I do, and even when I don't work? So really trying to get to the things that drive us at our core. And that might be a bit of a journey for some of us. This book is going to work you, through activities that allow you to see things from these different angles. So here's what I'm asking you to do. And Linda's going to send out an email in the next few minutes here. So you'll have it when we're done for reminders. Next Friday, we're going to get together again for about 90 minutes. Between now and then, I would like for you to read and complete all the activities on pages 4 through 19 of your MOJO book. I hope nobody else on earth could possibly ever make use of this book because you're marking it up, you're loving it up, you're dog-earing the pages, and just making it all about you. But start on page 4, work all the way through it. If you come across something that doesn't resonate for you, you don't have an answer, you might never have an answer, just skip it and come back to it or don't. It's entirely up to you. No wrong answers unless you're not being honest with yourself. And again, you won't be sharing these details with us. I'd like you to block out, it would take you 30 minutes if you kind of just buzz through it really quickly. And you could spend a couple of hours on this if you really got into the beautiful weeds about it. I'd like you to find an hour between now and like maybe midnight on Wednesday to do this work. And if you do it in less time, you're good. If you need more time, you'll find it. By noon on Thursday, the 23rd, I would love to hear from each one of you. If you would email me, and you'll have my email address, I want your top 3 words. So everybody look at page 10 real quick. Having done a couple of these opening activities on page 10, you're going to do my top 3 reasons to work. And it'll be probably single words or just a brief phrase. I would love to know those 3 words in order. If you would email them to me directly by noon on Thursday. If you don't get it to me by noon, that's okay, but try and do it by the end of the day on Thursday. If I get it at 1:45 East Coast time, 20 minutes before we start next Friday, I'll still take it. So I like to look at them prior so I can see the mix of the group. On the call next week, I am likely to use the various codes. Somebody on the call here is social responsibility outside interests, and I won't mention the name, and it might pertain to more than one person. So I hope that works for you. And without naming names, it can be anonymous, but we can all learn. If you want to do some live coaching, if you'd love to open up your camera and your mic and interact with me to kind of understand some things about yourself, I would love to do that. Let me know when you send me your top 3 by Thursday at noon. Just say, I'm happy to be coached. Doesn't mean I'll for sure do it. It depends on how many respond and sort of what the codes are, because I want to make sure I'm exemplifying codes that are helpful for you and lots of people on the line so we all get good intelligence to work with. And then finally, I'd love for you to take your number 1 motivation from page 10, let's say your social, let's say your outside interest, and then find on page 25, jump over to page 25 real quick, just to get eyes on it. So if you're social, you would then go to page 30. If you're creative problem solver, you go to page 40. Jump over there. There's a 2-page spread, a deeper dive into that motivation to give you some more information about the ABCs, kind of the good, the what to watch for, and some activities to start working out the details of what you're going to do with it. And the goal here is to help understand and mobilize your drive in a way that helps your organization and the people that you serve and the work that you do. We definitely want to get some goodness there. And well beyond that, to give you some imagery, some vocabulary, some tactics, so that in all of your life, you become increasingly aware of what drives you so that you're making decisions that accommodate that. That you're choosing, at work, maybe what to volunteer for and what not to volunteer for. In your life, where your yeses should be, where your nos maybe should be. So hopefully it will give you lots to work with at work and in life. So that's your task for between now and next Friday. By the end of the day today, I hope you'll plot on your calendar an hour between now and midnight on Wednesday to dig into this. All right, I dare you to peel back the layers and think about who you are as a whole human being, not just in terms of work or the specific work that you do, and give yourself permission. We often have stories about what's a reasonable motivation, why we should want to do things, and I want to encourage you to silence some of those voices. I hope you see things on these pages that surprise you, because they're true and you never really thought about it before. Or you've always known it was there, but you never really felt like it was legit or like you were allowed to. So I hope you will discover some things about you that are powerful, helpful, beautiful, unique, and have some fun with it. I'll see you next Friday. Let me know between now and then if I can be helpful to you. Thank you, Linda, for sending out the email, and have a great week and a great weekend, everyone.
Thank
Bye.
you.